Douglas Cooling and Heating, serving the Birmingham area for 38 years. 988-3706. That's Douglas.
This is the Weather Xtreme video for Saturday, August the 27th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters, and let's get right to the interest this morning. How about Irene? And there's a look at the radar coming from Morehead City, and it looks like Irene's eye is making landfall on the eastern end of North Carolina. So it looks like she's heading along the track that the National Hurricane Center has been forecasting. There's a look at the tropics. 10 is no longer. There's a little bit of interest, but very little likelihood that the little disturbance to the southeast of Bermuda will develop into anything. And then, of course, we have Irene. There's a look at the infrared picture for Irene. And Irene continues, as I said, on the track of moving right along the eastern U.S. coastline from North Carolina all the way up into New England. This is a fairly favored track. Looks like it will retain hurricane strength all the way up into Massachusetts and then begin to dissipate as it gets over land up that direction, because it's going to be partially over land and not partially over land for at least a little while. In the meantime, of course, the other big news besides Irene, which is, as you can see, is cooling off the mid-Atlantic states and up into New England. We can also see that the heat is also the big story, with a lot of these are the highs for yesterday, and of course a good deal of heat over Texas and Oklahoma they've been experiencing for some time. Irene is the main feature on the weather map, but Irene helping to bring in some drier air across the eastern third of the country. And that drier air is going to make things feel a little bit nicer. On the 500 millibar chart this morning, we can see the big ridge, the heat bubble off to the west. And, of course, there's the reflection of Irene. This is from 0Z last night, so not showing the exact location of Irene this morning. On the temperatures across central Alabama, we're generally, we got a pretty good range this morning. You can see those drier values with dew points in the upper 50s at Fort Payne. And we can see the 60s across the east central part of the state and up into the northeast part of the state. We're still at 72 at Tuscaloosa, so look for some 60s for the next few days as that drier air comes in. As James mentioned yesterday, it looks like the East Coast has been lighted like a Christmas tree, with lots of coastal flood warnings, hurricane warnings, flash flood warnings, flash flood watches, just all kinds of things going on. Of course, the flash flood watches, you can see, are actually pretty well deserved, with between 4 and 10 inches of rain along the path of Irene expected over the next 5 days. In the meantime, of course, it tells the story for us because we're going to stay pretty much dry. Storm Prediction Center outlooking a slight risk on the Outer Banks area and up into the edge of the Chesapeake Bay for day 1. Day 2, there is a possibility of some weather up along the New England coast. Otherwise, pretty tranquil across the U.S. The 06Z GFS model run, and there's Irene reflected over the eastern part of North Carolina with the large ridge off to our west, and that's keeping us in a nice northwesterly flow pattern, which is, of course, very nice to have. That northwesterly flow pattern will continue with us as Irene makes its way up into New England on Sunday, so we'll see the general northwesterly flow, and that'll keep kind of a little bit of drier air coming our way. Even into Monday, we stay with a little bit of a troughiness over the eastern half of the country. As that troughiness weakens, as Irene moves off, we can see the trough weakening. The ridge a little weaker thanks to a number of the short waves coming across the top of the ridge and helping to suppress it just a little bit. Ridge beginning to raise its ugly head again on Wednesday. This is the last day of August. And then on Thursday, we can see that ridge bulging up into the Great Lakes area in response to the trough coming in from the northwest part of the U.S. And that will certainly keep us fairly dry through at least midweek, but Thursday we see enough moisture return that I think we'll see the possibility of some showers. The ridge is with us, so the possibility of isolated showers stays with us as we head into the 2nd of September. The 3rd of September, a week from today, and we can see that ridge once again suppressed a little bit thanks to the strong shortwave moving across Canada. But even with that, we do have a bit of a front across extending from the low in eastern Canada all the way down into Oklahoma. So at least some possibilities of some rain in the central part of the country. But as you might expect, still going to be mostly a shower kind of situation. Extending the forecast out a little bit further, and you can see, first of all, that we have still a general troughiness over the eastern half of the country, with the ridge having migrated back to the west just a little bit. So that's good, but still not a lot of change going on down here. And finally, at the end of the period, the 11th of September, and indeed, we still got the big ridge, but just not a whole lot to write home about in the way of rain chances. So it looks like August is going to end on a somewhat dry note. Well, thanks for tuning in to the Weather Xtreme video. Expect to have the next one posted by 7:30 or 8 tomorrow morning. In the meantime, I hope your Saturday is a great one.
Each day, there are new stories to tell about the people who live here and the place we call home.
All of the faces that I see, all of the places close to me, they're all part of all the best things about home.
Sharing your stories on ABC 3340, Alabama's news leader.